Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Devon. Devon is from Utah in the USA. So let's see what Devon has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello Devon, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time to do this interview with me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Right back to you.
Right, am I saying your name right? Is Devon or Devon?
Devon.
Devon.
Yep.
Okay, Devon. So just before we start the game, what you drinking, by the way?
It's like a vitamin drink with CoQ10 and all sorts of essential vitamins. It always makes my belly feel good, though.
Sounds exciting. And where are you from?
I'm from Vernal, Utah, and I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I'm a Utah native here in the U.S.
Utah. And what's the name of your city?
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Okay. And what do you do for a living?
I am a massage therapist and esthetician.
Oh, wow. And
Yes.
what do you like the most about your job?
The most? Ooh, there's kind of a lot of things. I've kind of come full circle with my job. It's been a really hard career, but I think what I love is that I get so many different stories from people, and I take for granted that I'm in a position where, not everyone gets a person on their table and gets to see and witness all these different, not just body types, but like different lives, and you hear about them. And so I feel like I have this collection in the back of my mind of all of these different, like thousands of people's stories, whether it's the story that was written on their body or the story that they're actually telling me about something. And that's cool.
I see. So I'm sure that you might like listen to a lot of stories as well, like a lot of stories and a lot of like, let's say, positive and negativity as well.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you find the balance to carry this, let's say, the negative side of it? Sometimes, people come and they open up and you kind of listen to all of those energies. And how do you find the balance, not to bring it back at home or not to bring to yourself and kind of protect yourself through that?
That's a really good question. And I think that the truth is I'm still learning how to do that, even 12 years in. But I'm certainly getting better. And I think it's a matter of setting personal boundaries, both in my own psychic space and just like literally in my life, trying to strike a better balance of the hours that I work, the days that I'm working and not working. There's so many things that I think I have to do to kind of separate from work, but also kind of undo what I've done at work, whether it's actually just the actual physical labor or the emotional aspect, whether it's like taking salt baths or going to a hot spring or kind of having my own therapy, whether it's I'm going out and actively, getting support and help from other, therapists and healers so that I'm not depleting myself. And so it's really just kind of a lifestyle that's built around balance.
I see. Great. Okay, Devon, so welcome to William and the Magic Box. Here, my lovely box full of random fun questions. So I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to shake a little bit before the first question. Ready?
Yep.
Let's do it. Okay, Devon, ready for the first question?
Yes.
Let's do it. But just before the first question, if there is any question you don't have an answer for, you don't want to answer, always can change for another one, okay? It's very friendly, chilled, and relaxed, okay? No pressure.
Okay.
Great. So the first question is, it's going to be very easy for you. Do you consider yourself a spiritual person, and how?
Yes. And how do I consider myself a spiritual person?
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of have a belief that that's the nature of reality, right? Is that there is the mental realm or the spiritual realm, and it precedes the physical realm. So I truly feel like I am like everyone and everything, that there's the spiritual reality and nature and existence. that gives birth to the physical, and maybe the two are inseparable and married to each other in some way, but I feel like that's just, I believe that that's how reality is. So
I see.
yeah.
And as a therapist, I believe that, for example, when you have a client come from massage for, to have a massage, do you feel their energy straight away sometimes, like in a positive and negative way?
Absolutely. Not always. I've learned in the past that I've kind of been a bad judge of character at times, but I think that to the degree that I am centered within myself and doing well, I feel like those frontal lobes are online, and you can kind of perceive a lot that is otherwise not available to you when you're dysregulated and disordered yourself. But when I'm in a good place, yeah, you definitely like pick up on things pretty quickly when someone walks into a room and is in your space. And sometimes beforehand.
Wow. Next question for you. Let's do it. Question for you is, what's something not many people know about you?
This one could be political because it's the first thing that came to my mind, but I don't think many people know that I'm going to phrase it this way specifically, but that I do not hate our former President Trump. You could say that I have had some interesting experiences in the last couple of years that made me think differently about things. But I think the assumption in America is that, especially as a gay man, you just are going to think a certain way, and you're going to hate Trump, and you're going to hate all these things. You're going to think a very specific way. And I feel like I'm more complex than that. So just as like a focal point of what would like trigger someone maybe even is that like, I don't think the same as everyone else. And I don't think a lot of people know that, because you can't really say things around here.
I see. Oops. No, but yeah, you say about hate. See, I think hate is a very, heavy word. You know what I mean? About, of course, there are bad people out there, but I think if you kind of, you can have your opinion, but I think when you say hate, this word hate comes with a lot of like heavy negativity as well. Yeah. But I know what I mean. I understand your point. I think you can dislike it, and stand up for yourself. But when you put some anger in there or put some hate in there, I think it's a different conversation.
It is.
Yeah,
I agree.
Cool. Another question for you, Devon. Let's do it. Bit of Brazilian music for you. Right, before the next question, tell me what the best part of living in Salt Lake City and the most challenging part, in your opinion.
I think the best part is that it's kind of that perfect size city for me, where it's big enough that you have all of the things that the accoutrements that you would want in a city, but without being unmanageable. It's still a very manageable city to live in, to drive in, and it's accessible to all the things that you'd want to do outdoors as well. It's got a great airport, it's got great mountains, it's close to all of it is a desert, I guess. Yeah, it's just it has everything that a person I think would want. The hard thing about Salt Lake City, and I don't know that I experienced this, so maybe it's not the answer you're looking for, but my understanding is that for people moving here who aren't familiar with maybe some of the more strict conservative culture that the Mormons have established here, is that can be a pretty heavy psychological space to enter. And I'm kind of like a fish in water, and I just don't know any different. I've never lived anywhere else, but that can be really hard for a lot of people. So.
All right. By the way, I've done already over 400 people worldwide, around 400 people interviews here. And most of my guests on the show, they are from America. Let's say American, British. And I've got a lot of people from different states, but you are my first guest from Utah, from the state of Utah.
Awesome.
Yeah, very good. The pressure's on you now, okay?
Yep.
Right, next question is, define yourself in a season of the year and why?
Ooh. I think I think it's changing for me. I'm in an intermediary period where I might say a year from now that I would describe myself as spring. But I think for the majority of my life, I would have described myself as maybe the fall. And I would have said the fall because I feel like it's kind of a haunted season, and it's a pretty like I feel like the fall is a really sensual season and how there's a lot of like smells of like the harvest and things even starting to rot in the ground, but it's also, you kind of get a little bit of the chill, and it's, I don't know, it's this kind of like liminal space, kind of like the twilight hour. It's kind of that like magical space, and I think I've existed a lot of my life in kind of this magical realm that's neither here nor there, and that's how I perceive the autumn. But I feel like as life goes on, I feel more and more like I would describe myself as the spring, which is, you know, rebirth and regeneration and kind of a fresh start. But
Great. I love the fall. The autumn is my favorite season.
yeah.
And somebody told me once that the season when you were born, that's the season you feel more connected with. And for me, it works well because I was born in November. And November is the fall in Europe. So for me, it's like the best season of the year. Always been very connected. Even before knowing that, when I left Brazil a few years ago, and I just felt fascinated with the seasons in Europe, like all settled and well, you know, separate. I was like, oh wow. And I always fell in love with the autumn. People go like, you're crazy. It's so cold. It's already getting cold. And the leaves, I said, it's just beautiful. The lights, the colorful trees. It's just beautiful. The leaves. And it's just very, it's not very cold yet. And it's not hot. So it's kind of, you know, crispy. And I quite like it. I love it. My favorite.
Yeah. So you're from Brazil?
I'm originally from Brazil, yeah. And I've been living in the UK for the last 16 years. And,
oh, wow.
And I was living in Portugal before as well, before moving to the UK. So I left Brazil when I was 19 years old, long time.
Wow. What an adventure.
And I lived in America for 3 months and a half, 4 years ago. I was working for Disney Cruise Line, for Disney World in Orlando. So, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you're a performer.
I wish. I wish. Next question, Devon. Let's do it. Right. Next question for you is: what is the happiest day in your life so far, and why you consider that?
A hard one. There's so many happy days. I would say the happiest day in my life is the one I'm living in any given moment. Because I feel like it just keeps getting better and better. I've certainly had some poignant moments of happiness in my life. And I think all of what they all share in common is that there was a like a felt and palpable a spiritual component, an emotional spiritual component, where I felt deeply connected to people who have passed, and to my life, and to where everything is going. And so they're kind of random moments scattered about, whether it was like a moment where I just felt really connected to my grandmother who's passed on, or a moment where I was looking out over, there's a moment in my mind where I was looking out over the Mediterranean, and I just had a really clear sense that everything was okay and I was going to be okay, and you know, life is good, and it's good to lean into and trust in life. But there's a lot of moments like that I've been gifted over the years, and I don't know that one stands out over the other, but they all feel just really poignant and fresh and connected and maybe inspired or gifted in a sense.
Great, cool. Another question? Let's do it. Right, before the next question, I'd like you, if you could share, let's say, a funny moment, a funny situation you had in your career as a therapist.
Ooh, okay, a funny moment.
A funny or like a crazy story that you could share. And also, if you could share like a challenge moment as well, something like challenge that you need to face it during the massage or something interesting.
Yeah. God, that one's stumping me. Like, what's the funniest moment in my career? I feel like it's going to be a boring answer because out of context, like no one will ever think this is funny, but I just remember having a specific client and she was like, she should have been a stand-up comedian, but I would be doing facials on her and she would just be like telling me stories about her life in LA, and it was so funny. And just like the way that we played off of each other, we would just get to like hyperventilating. So that was probably like the funniest and funnest moments. But there are certainly other times where someone, maybe I'm working on somebody and they fall asleep and drool or snore or, you know, something else. And it's just comical because they're vulnerable and it's just in this like perfect context. The most challenging, there's been a lot of challenging moments in my career, but it's really just those days when you're locked in a dark room and you're doing nothing but body work for 7 to 8 hours. And if you're not getting people that have the kind of energy dynamic that kind of feeds you too, and it's just kind of sucking from you. And so you're really just like locked in there with your own thoughts and this other person and their thoughts and their kind of damage, and you're trying to make them feel better, but maybe you can't quite get a fix on whether or not either they're enjoying it or they're not giving you any kind of reciprocation on an energetic level, and that just leaves you really, really tired. Those are really hard days.
I see. It's funny you say about snoring. I remember I was working in a spa a few years ago, and I was one of my colleagues, she was a therapist, and she said, "Oh, William, we are testing now new products for the facial, and we are looking for someone to do it." I was like, "Oh yes, I would like to do it. I would like to need someone to help, you know." I said, "Okay, that's fine." I said to her, "But there's a problem. I slept like 3-4 hours last night. I'm so tired, but I'm scared that I'm gonna lie down and I'm gonna fall asleep and I'm gonna start snoring." She said, "No, don't worry. Just come." And she was doing the facial. At one point, I was so relaxed that I passed out. And I wake up like a few minutes ago with her like touching my face and talking to the lady who was give some instructions about the products and everything. And I felt so like scared that I was snoring or something. I couldn't relax anymore because I knew that I fall asleep, and I knew it that for sure I snored because I was so tired.
It's good though if you're falling asleep.
But my face, when I remember touching my face afterwards, I was like, "Oh my God, can I do that every single day, please?"
Yep. Yeah, it's fun.
Next question is, what makes you the saddest?
What makes me the saddest is probably witnessing things that are uncared for, whether it's a person or an animal or a piece of nature. It's just seeing things that are kind of just broken and not cared for. That's a really hard thing for me to witness.
Okay, cool. Next question for you, Devon. Let's do it. Next question for you is, what was your best friend's name growing up, and why did you consider this person your best friend at the time?
So I had 3 kind of main best friends at different stages of my youth, but the one that comes to mind would probably be, it'd be Rory and Nate. Rory, because both of them, I guess, Rory and Nate, because we just really loved each other. And not like in a romantic sense, but you could just really we could have fun, talk about anything, either play in the fields behind our house or go do something more delinquent. But these were just people that I felt like I had my back and could see me, and they loved me and wanted to be around me. And so that was,
very great.
And vice versa.
And you're still in touch with them?
Not one of them, and the other occasionally. Life has kind of taken us in different directions. One of them, a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Another question for you, Devon. Let's do it. Before for the next question, tell me something that I only can find in Salt Lake City. Something local, something special, something different, something that I cannot find anywhere else in America.
Well, we have the Great Salt Lake. It's our namesake. So we have the remnants of the ancient Lake Bonneville, or the Sea of Bonneville. And that's pretty cool. I don't know that people really go and spend a lot of time in the Great Salt Lake because it is like a dead sea, essentially. But there are islands and vantage points that you can kind of just see the size of it. And it's kind of just this part of our ancient history that still affects our day-to-day lives because it kind of affects the weather, and there's, economy around it. And I think there's also kind of like a spiritual energy to it as well, because we're essentially living on the bed of an ancient saltine sea. And I don't think that you can find that really anywhere else in the US.
Very good, very good. Next question is, what did you want to be growing up?
A couple things. I wanted to be a geologist. I wanted to be a paleontologist, an archaeologist, gemologist. I liked all the rocks, ancient history. And then I wanted to be a psychologist, but I ended up as a body worker. So
somehow it's connected with psychologists as well. Somehow they're connected, for sure.
Yeah.
You are there to give a lot of support through the massage, I'm sure. And as you said before, like listening and, talking and explaining as well, give your point of view. I think all of part is psychologists, that's for sure. I agree.
Yep.
Are you enjoying the show so far?
Yes.
Yeah? Great.
Yeah.
And the question for you.
Okay.
Next question. Right, if you could ask for a miracle, what that would be and why?
I think I regularly do ask for miracles, and I'm oftentimes asking for not perfect, but as close to perfect for me as I could get to having perfect health, because I've dealt with a lot of chronic health issues, and to me it would be a miracle and just this huge boon in life to just feel amazing all the time and have great health. Yeah, I would say that's the one.
And then just regarding your career, Devon, how many massages can you do like per day to kind of to balance that? What's the maximum massage for yourself you are able to do per day, or which one is how many you suggest for someone who is starting out, who one is working, in this business?
Honestly, it's hard to give advice to somebody on this issue because I'm learning that everyone has a different constitution and is built differently. And I know people that can do 8 massages in a day for 10 years, and they're more or less fine because just genetically and how they're built and how they've used their body and their story allows them to do that. But other people like me, they are going to have a lot harder time. You're going to break down quicker. Or maybe you just have a bigger learning curve as to what you can and can't do sustainably. But I would say for me, honestly, it ideally wouldn't be a career. It would be almost like a side thing where it's an art and it's something that I offer in much lower quantity, where it's like I'm maybe doing 1 a day or just a couple a week when I have really good energy. Realistically, to make a career out of it, it's a different ballgame because you can't put everything that you have into every massage. You just can't, even the person with the best and most energy. So right now I only work 3 days a week doing massage, and I might do tops 6 hours of body work, and that's too much, but it's the balance that I can strike right now, and I make it work. I used to work 7 days a week and do at least that every day. But I would say 1 or 2 hours a day is what feels good. And I feel like I could sustainably do that if I'm taking really good care of myself. But everyone's different. But yeah, I would say for anyone going into this career field that I would search long and deep into the reasons why, and I would maybe not necessarily manage expectations, but I would get clear about the reasons why I'm doing that, because I feel like I went in with a lot of expectations and hopes, and it wasn't, not only wasn't realistic, but I don't even know what it was based on. And the reality is that to do it as a career and to pay off your schooling and everything else, it's going to be a jaunt. Like you're going to need some endurance and you're going to need some gumption. But I feel like if you have a love for it, then it definitely will pull you through and you can do things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do.
Great.
But, yeah.
Next question. Right. Next question is, what's the best advice you have given?
Okay, forgive me, but I'm going to tell you what a piece of advice that was given to me that I've then given to other people that I thought was really helpful. But I had a friend once tell me that if I had something that I really wanted to say, like if I was triggered and I wanted to say all these things like in a text or an email, she said, you always sleep on it. You never send it right then. You always take one night and you sleep on it. And I followed that advice, and it turned out to be a very fruitful piece of advice. And I follow it to this day for the most part. And I've shared that with other people who are kind of stuck in patterns of, I don't know, kind of these negative feedback loops. And I think sometimes just giving yourself a pause is enough to kind of break that pattern and get you thinking better and bringing, some metacognition online. And that can that could even change the course of your life if you kind of apply that to other areas of your life where you're just compulsively acting out, but instead to just pause.
Very good. I like that, actually. You're totally right. Sometimes you need to sleep on it. Sometimes you need to have time, you know what I mean? Not to react straight away, because you might change your mind so much. And when you look back, you're like, oh my God, I wish, when you do something, when you do it straight away, most of the time you go like, I wish I could have the time back. I would put in a different way. It's so often, totally agree with you. Great advice. Great one. Next question. For the next one, did you always have the support of your family being gay?
No. I always had a kind family. I come from both sides of my family are very kind, I think gentle spirited people, but they are true believing Mormons. And so some of those beliefs just simply do not coincide with what I believe, or maybe even at a time with who I was. So it kind of got in the way of our relationship. But I think the more that I've grown up and matured, the more I've allowed my family to love me in a way that feels good to them. And I still get to be nourished, and it's kind of this beautiful and evolving thing. And my family is still growing just as I am still growing. But yeah, there was definitely in my 20s really hard years.
I see. Next question is, what 3 things are you most grateful for?
I am grateful for the health that I do have and the ability and the capacity that I have to take care of myself, to work, support myself, pay my own bills, try different therapies and treatments out, and give myself the nutrition that I need. I'm grateful for my health and the ability to progress in that area. I'm grateful for either a belief system or a reality that I kind of exist in, even if it's just in my head, where I have a relationship with divinity and kind of a sophisticated and complex understanding and relationship with reality that feels supportive now instead of feeling like a drag, because it always hasn't been that way. So I guess a spirituality that supports me. I'm grateful for a partner who loves me as dearly as I am. I have a really supportive, loving, intelligent partner. So that's nice too.
You'll be very happy to see that interview in the future. Right, Devon, I have 3 questions left for you, okay? Let's do it. Next question for you is, who would you swap lives for a day if you could?
I think usually I would have a couple kind of set answers already for a question like this, but I'm going to change my mind here and just go on a hunch and say Elon Musk. And I think I would choose him because I see in him so much of what I am not. He has this like entrepreneurial spirit and this kind of like, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but this like kind of almost like a level of disassociation too that allows him to just press forward and manifest his dreams and his desires and his curiosities and explore them kind of like unhindered and unabashed. And I think it's dope. Like, and you can see how it's benefited really the world. Certainly employees that work for him and his own life, but I think to live in his mind for a day would be fascinating.
Great one, great one. 2 questions left. Before the next one, tell me a situation that, let's say, you had a client came to for a treatment, and straight away you could feel that this person was in a good place, a lot of negativity around. And in the end of the treatment, this person left like in a very beautiful place, a different place that you were like, oh, wow, I'm so glad that I challenged that moment and you felt good about it, that you changed the mood or the situation or, the vibe or anything.
So those are like they're difficult, but they're the more rewarding moments in my career. And I feel like they've kind of always been there scattered about, but I would say in the last year, I've had a lot of those. And it has a lot to do with the politics and the kind of the world events that have been happening. But at the place that I work at, we get a lot of people from the East and the West Coast, from these major metropolitan areas. And I think one of the things that people don't consider oftentimes is that there's these rather significant regional differences in the way people think, and also with the way that things like COVID have panned out. That being what it is, these people come to me and they've been existing in these places that are way more strict, if not toxic, because they haven't been able to express themselves or even just be a human in a lot of ways. And so you can kind of sense that when they come into the room. And I feel like when I've been able to kind of create that safe and open space for somebody to just chill out and either say what they want to say, get things off their chest, or just be in a space where I'm not micromanaging them and I'm not afraid of them because God forbid they give me a virus or something. There's been a couple, I'm thinking of 2 in particular, where the client came in kind of just really uptight and wound up psychologically and left either in tears and hugging me or just elated because they hadn't been touched in over a year or years, or they hadn't had a conversation with somebody that you could just talk about things and be curious and interested, and even if you didn't think the same way, it was this really nourishing and engaging connection. And I must take that for granted because I'm so blessed in life with friends where I always have that at my fingertips should I want that. But to be with people in a room where they have not had any of that, or they haven't been touched even, it's crazy to see the transformation in there. It's almost like they come back alive and they're ready to go back out into the world and maybe not be so afraid. And that's been really kind of a profound thing for me on my end.
Very good. Wow. Right, next question for you is, if you could have dinner with someone or anyone, living or not, who would it be and why? Donald Trump. Joking. Joking.
I'd totally have dinner with Donald Trump. I think it'd be really interesting and fun. But I think it would be really interesting to have dinner and kind of dinner type combo with someone like Carl Jung, with just the way that his mind works. I don't know, maybe Carl Jung. But he's dead.
Right, ready for the last one?
Yes.
Let's do it. Right, before the last question, I'd like to ask something. Tell me, what was the most memorable, let's say, feedback or comments that someone made after your treatment, or something like a testimonial, or something that stuck to your head or to your heart?
Again, there's not like one, because I worked on like probably 10,000 people, so like one doesn't pop into my head, but those moments where, and it doesn't happen every day, but like where someone just lets you know that this is more than a job, even though it's, for me, sometimes it's just a job. But that recognition that like, no, this is a gift, and you've, shared your gift with me. And because of that, they're maybe out of pain for a moment, where they just feel really connected to their own body, where they've been disassociated because of pain or trauma, and I've maybe helped them to get back into their body. That always feels good, and that's always really meaningful, a meaningful reminder, and just kind of a checkpoint of whether or not I'm checked in or checked out. Like for people on my table, this is oftentimes the first time or the only time in a long time where they feel okay. So yeah, whenever somebody is just kind of open to giving me that feedback of, you got a gift, and thank you for sharing that with me, is like, it's humbling, but it's also nourishing.
It's cool. Right, let's play now the word association game, the quick thinking game, okay? I'm going to give away some words, and you just tell me one word that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Right, let's start with religion.
Interesting.
Money.
Abundant.
Love.
Everlasting.
Family.
Forever.
Sex.
Delicious.
Life.
Overflowing.
Politics.
Clusterfuck.
Fear.
Respect.
Friendship.
Whelp.
Regret.
Tricky.
Desire.
Also tricky.
Success.
Elusive.
Happiness.
Simple.
I like that. Wish.
Fishes.
If I tell you therapist, one word.
Healer.
Okay. And the last one now. Salt Lake City, one word.
Underrated.
Interesting. Right. So let's pretend now I'm going to meet your lovely partner for a cup of tea, and I'm going to ask him, tell me the most beautiful thing about Devon, and tell me something that he needs to improve on. What do you think he'll tell me?
He would say that the most beautiful thing about me is the room that I have mentally to hear and entertain anything. So just kind of maybe my openness. What I need to improve on would probably be my communication in certain moments. I can be pretty grouchy and not communicate sometimes when I need to. So yeah, he would say that.
I'm sure you'll work on it, aren't you?
Yes.
Let's play now Devon in the magic box, and you can ask me a question, okay? Yeah, you can ask me a question now, yeah.
And I'm going to try to formulate this in a way that makes sense, but like, what is home to you? Like, how would you define that? What is home to you?
I love the question. Amazing. Actually, fun enough, Devon, there is one of my favorite song. It's called Home, at the name. And a few years ago, I met a good friend of mine, and I was at his place, and this song started playing called Home. And I said to him, "Oh my God, I love that song. And I start to pay attention to the lyrics. And I still have the song on my MP3. Sometimes when I listen to it, it just gives me like a good vibe, a good energy. And the song says a lot. For me, what is home? It's the place where you are. It's the place where you feel good. It's the place where you feel safe. It's the place where you feel comfortable with yourself. It's the place as well where you can feel scared as well. So I think home is a place where you find yourself there, where you feel like I belong here. I belong to this place. Emotional, spiritual, or even physical. So I think that's for me where is home. Home is the way where you are and where you appreciate life, learning, growing, making mistakes, enjoying like the beauty of life. And yes, I think that's the place where I call home. It doesn't matter where you are, but the place where you feel yourself, truly to yourself, when you find yourself there. So that's what home is for me. And I love the question. And I'll tell you something else. As I mentioned before, I've done already all those 100 people worldwide, and it's the first time somebody asked this question.
Oh, good.
Thanks to you.
Yeah.
And of course, I even got goosebumps now. And of course, come from someone like you, someone so full of very spiritual, someone that's work with emotions, energy. And I think that's the it could have come an unexpected question, like such a lovely question come from you. I think I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thanks for the question.
Yeah,
I love it.
You're welcome. I love that. You'll have to send me that song.
I will. And yeah. It's a very it's kind of very dancing, clubbing as well. And I'm not sure if the original one, but it's a Dutch DJ. That's how, because I remember we were going out and we were kind of having a drink at his place, and he put the song, and I was like, oh my God, I love this song. And guess what? Fun enough as well. One day, this DJ, he was his favorite DJ, he was playing in one big venue in London, and he said to me, we need to go there. And he was playing, at one point he played this song, and I was like,
way.
Wow.
Yes.
I was over the moon. And yes, again, in the same way as well, I believe that people cross our mind for a reason. I believe songs as well. I think music, they come to your life for a reason as well. And it just brings you to memories, brings you to, to melancholic, or to happiness, to everything. I think music, it's something, is a good energy as well. That's I agree with that.
Yeah, music is magic for sure.
Absolutely. Wow, I love it. Did you have a good time, Devon?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time and sharing this experience with me. It was a pleasure having you on the show. And before you go, I would like you to share a positive message, a positive quote, something that inspires you in life.
Oh, you're asking me on a good day, so there's so much. Had you got me in one of my grouchy mornings, this would be a different conversation. Inspires me. Well, I know it would kind of make me feel a little bit controversial or off-putting to bring up someone like Jesus, but I feel like so much of what Jesus, who he is to me, and I don't even subscribe to like a religion or anything, but I feel like what I did get from my religious upbringing, if anything was good, was just that message from Jesus of loving one another, loving thy neighbor and loving one another. And I think that starts with loving yourself, and by extension you are able to love one another. And sometimes that's really hard, and I don't think that it's something that you're obliged to do. And I wouldn't give that advice to anyone, because sometimes you don't feel it and you don't have that to give. But I would say, if all you can do, is love yourself and include all of your experience and all of the feelings and the fuckery of what is our mind into the circle of compassion and love on any given moment, and just practice that. It's kind of a yoga of the mind that at some point and by kind of a natural evolution of things, that you will find your goodwill growing, because that's essentially what you're doing, is cultivating goodwill. And I think it's so important in the world right now. And so while there's a lot of cool quotes and cool things that I try to live by, or that are constantly are in my mind and I'm chewing on them because they're potent bits of wisdom, I would say just that simple message of being kind and loving one another is one that I have seen both exemplified in my family and in those closest to me, but one that I've lost track of that for years at a time, and I'm often in and out of that and not loving other people and not loving things, but it's ever present in my mind and kind of in my operating system as a guidepost and as a beacon and as a kind of a lighthouse to like bring me back home, where I'm living by that and I'm experiencing that. So that's what I would say.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Thank you very much. Thanks, Devon.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
All the best. Thank you so much.
All the best. Yeah, have a wonderful day. See ya.
Take care. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye. See you next time.